Hello and welcome to the Least Haunted Podcast, a place where science, skepticism, humor, and anthropology meet to discuss all things spooky, haunting, supernatural, and sometimes just the plain ridiculous. I'm your host, Cody Franks, and joining me, as almost always, is the weird walker of wildly windy ways who wades through warm waters in a Widdershins direction, wakefully wondering and wailing, where west winds win, which one? Wow. Wishful, wowed.
Garth, Widdershins? What's Widdershins direction?
Counterclockwise.
Oh, okay. I should know that. Hey, hi, Cody.
Hi.
Welcome to season 4. We broke up our seasons not by the new year, but by when we started, and we started this show. This is the beginning of the 4th season.
Yes.
We've done 3 years worth of The Least Haunted.
Yeah.
So welcome, everyone. This is season 4 of the Least Haunted Podcast. Before I introduced our special guest, I want to bring up at the top of the episode we do have a Patreon.
Yes,
so
Patreon.
We always talk about it at the end, but who listens to the very end of podcasts? I know I don't. So
it's not
thought
like
I'd mention it now.
Yeah, it's not like if you go all the way to the end past everything else, there's some kind of fun little audio joke or
No, we would
stinger.
never put little
Never.
jokes at the very end after our outro music. So,
But yeah, if you want to support us and hear more, go to-
Patreon.com/leasthaunted.
Yeah, and we'll bring it up again later. But now you've been warned up front.
Yes.
And now we'll introduce
That'll make all the difference. Anyway, joining me as for the third time, I think? Is this 4th time?
Yeah.
For our 4th time, we have a very special guest, Dr. Tim King. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm really honored to be here. This is the first episode of season 4, right?
This is the
fantastic.
beginning,
Yeah.
the premiere episode.
Well, you're starting out with a bang.
Yes.
You've got me as your guest.
That's
Boom!
right. We were going to record at least Haunted HQ, but there was a chainsaw going and all kinds of things. So we relocated, and we're now at Tim's place. And it's just some wind chimes and some birds tweeting. So we've got some nice ambiance. Hopefully
Which
you'll hear
also
that in the
means that
background.
every time we've had Tim on, we have traveled to his house.
Well, okay,
No,
so
no, except once. The holiday, the Santa Claus episode was remote.
We did remote.
that
yeah.
was remote, yeah.
And technically, it's actually 5 times because Tim was in
He was a
tale
guest.
Of, the tale of the ghostly town.
Actor, yeah.
That was hilarious, too.
Yeah.
That was our
Yeah,
first
well,
one.
I'm sorry you guys had to come here, but it did seem like this episode was almost going to be cursed itself.
Yeah.
Because we kept
One thing after another.
Yeah, at the studio, one of your neighbors was running a chainsaw, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, well, let's leave. And the minute we start leaving, the chainsaw stops. Well, let's go back and
Yep.
go back and record it.
Yep.
And the minute we start setting up, chainsaw happens
Yep.
again.
Yeah, and then we walked away and it stopped. So you can tell it was just going to go off and on all
You
day.
know, just the wailing call of a chainsaw in the canyon, much like the wailing call of today's topic.
Ooh, what is today's topic, Cody?
Today we are going to be talking about, and I'm hoping I'm doing this right, La Llorona?
La Llorona.
Okay.
La Llorona.
was-
La
sure.
Llorona. Da-na-na-na.
I wasn't sure if the R needed to be inflected, rolled, flipped.
It's not a double R.
Okay, so.
But it's not pronounced the way an English R is.
Yeah.
We over-roticize our R's.
Is there a little bit of a D to it? Llorona?
La Llorona.
Llorona. Okay, got it. Llorona.
But it's not La Llorona.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
More in the
La-
back
La
of the throat,
Llorona.
not in the front
Yeah.
of the mouth.
La Llorona.
La Llorona.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about La Llorona, and we brought you and Tim because you are somewhat of an expert. No, that's not the right way to say it.
Well,
Sorry.
I specialize in Mesoamerican anthropology and
that's it.
archaeology and also linguistics.
Yeah,
So
I didn't want to make it seem like you were an expert in.
I'm not an
this
expert in La Llorona.
Exactly. That's what
I have no doubt there are La
Yeah.
Llorona specialists. In fact, we became aware of one. which
Yeah,
we-
just before recording, I became aware of an expert, and so I want to reach out to that person and try to get them for a future episode.
yeah, it's like she wrote a whole thesis on
Her
going
whole
around
master-
and getting modern people's stories of La Llorona.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
whole-
is super cool.
Yeah, it was a whole master's thesis, and I only discovered it maybe within an hour of recording.
As
And-
often happens.
Yes, and so I was like, I can't read this 125-page dissertation in like an hour, and so the only solution is to reach out to this person and try to get them on in the future. So just listeners know that we are not going to cover everything about La Llorona. We're going to be talking more about origins and ancient history in broad strokes, and then if we want to get into modern cultural roles or functions of the myth, then we'll look to our future expert.
Yeah. And also, just as a caveat, there's like, I think 6 modern movies now about
Yeah.
La Llorona. I will just say that, no.
They
No.
are not really?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, yeah, if you want to learn about Bigfoot, Harry and the Hendersons is a real good. You're like, no. It's like,
That's going to be at the
kidding?
very end of this. We'll be bookending this show with a Garth's Corner where I list these off. It'll
Yeah.
be a very short Garth's
think
Corner.
there's at
I'm
least
not
one-
going to get into them.
I haven't. I think I've watched pieces of some of the movies, but not all of them. And I think there's at least one where It'd be important if your actor knew how to pronounce La Llorona.
Oh no!
Like that kind of stuff.
That is not
And
great.
if I'm correct, I think some of these exist in the Conjuring universe, which
I don't know.
if people remember in our Haunted Dolls episode, I watched the movie about Annabelle the doll.
You were not impressed.
It was also just as correct. The Screaming Chicken. I think that's all right.
Well, we have an airplane too. I don't know if they can
Oh.
hear it. So we're outside right now, just so
Yeah.
if you get the ambient noises.
We
it's
traded
kind
chainsaw for Screaming
We
Chicken.
just-
I will trade a chainsaw for a screaming chicken any day.
It fits the theme.
It does.
we could tell people we're filming at night, and we're actually, risking some La Llorona cursage.
Oh yeah, no, we're out in the woods right now.
Next to a running body, next to a stream or a
Many
river.
children died. Okay, where do we start? Okay, I got an idea. The best way to address La Llorona, well, a lot of things like this. Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
We start with Batman.
Okay.
It's a good place to start, right?
Okay.
So if you go back to the 1939 Bob Kane Batman comic book, Detective Comics, I think
Yeah.
it was like 27. Fun thing, I didn't know that. DC Comics stands for Detective Comics.
Yes, I knew that.
So
Right.
it's like saying ATM machine.
It's
You know,
it's redundant. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I looked up. What does a DC actually? Oh
Because
shit!
they were all detective stories.
You should just say
originally.
DC. Okay. So the question would be: Is that the true Batman, the true purist Batman? Is the Bob Kane
Yeah,
one?
because
The first is the true, I guess. Yeah.
Is that the case though?
It's almost
is that
a
the real?
philosophical. It's kind of a philosophical question, but I would say it's the primordial. So it's true. Everything else is an iteration. So there's something about being the first of
well,
something.
Batman himself
right?
is based. He's kind of a Zorro.
Kind of a Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, so he's based on other things too. But I would say, like, if you were trying to say what is the real Batman, I think everybody, like personally, I would refer to who is my Batman, and usually that's who was the first one you were exposed to. Kind of sets within you.
It's
your,
kind of like a James Bond thing too.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
Who
like-
was the first
Yeah.
one?
Okay, but think about this. Okay. So you have the Bob Kane Batman, and then you have the really silly Adam West,
The
60s,
60s, 66
70s,
Batman.
which is hilarious. Okay, that's also kind of, is it an iteration? Is it simply a retelling of the story? Is it more correct Batman? And okay, but then you fast forward to the Tim Burton Batmans, which were pretty fucking cool. Sorry, Nick. Like,
Yeah, that's kind of mine.
like, yeah. I mean,
that and the '90s cartoon.
Well, the
Batman.
animated series
The animated
would not
series, yeah.
exist if it were not for the Tim Burton version.
Yeah. So the Tim Burton, I mean, you go back and watch those, and some of it I didn't. I watched. It was like the first Batman with the Joker, and I didn't realize how corny some of it was too.
Oh yeah.
It was a little bit
Jack
cheesy,
Nicholson,
but
chewing the scenery. Yeah.
But then you have Christian Bale Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just gonna skip over the fucking Val Kilmer and George
Yeah.
Clooney.
Yeah,
Batman.
George
George
Clooney.
Clooney,
That never
no.
happened. I
What?
don't
Who
think.
were
No.
they?
It's like all I can say is, I know it isn't the true Batman, and that's nipples on the bat suit. Okay,
Joel
so
Schumacher.
yeah, I don't
not
know,
Batman.
but that's definitely not Batman. Okay, so but then we go to the Christian Bale Batman, and you notice he talks different
Yeah.
because he talks like the Batman.
Yeah.
He has a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit of a lisp too, which is kind of funny. They're talking about the Batman.
Well, it's probably from
I
getting
am
punched.
the Batman.
It's probably from getting punched in the mouth so many goddamn times.
Bane.
He can turn it off and on.
So there's that, and then we have now the Ben Affleck Batman. Now you could,
And the even newer
what's his face?
Twilight.
The Twilight.
Robert Pattinson, the
Robert
Twilight
the
guy.
Twilight guy, right? And
So we
is
got
he
a
the
lot of
Batman.
new ones, yeah.
You know, so he's the Batman with a muscle car.
Right.
You know, the Christian Bale Batman, that wasn't even a car.
it was
that
like a tank kind of a
right?
thing. Yeah.
But you could ask yourself, okay, is the Ben Affleck Batman like the truest Batman because it's had an entire deep history of all different iterations and isotopes of Batman that it could gather together the most Batmaniest parts of Batman?
I guess what I would say is the most recent iteration of Batman has the most Batman to draw from. So
Correct.
the newest Batman is the most Batmaniest, potentially, if in fact the newest Batman chooses to draw from it.
Now, I
Yeah.
wouldn't argue necessarily the purest Batman, but the most Batman.
The most because it is the most Batman.
Yeah,
Batman
yeah,
have
yeah,
come
yeah.
before. Yes.
It's interesting.
Because you could distill it down to like what is there has to be a few details that are essential for it to be Batman, and if you get those like few core details, because there's also like a comic series where it's like he's in medieval times and it's Batman. There's a manga version where he's a samurai Batman. So it's like as long as you have like those key things like parents dead, you know, detective skills, and then like fighting crime.
I've seen whole Batman stories that had included no detective skills.
Okay, so you know
Wah,
that's the
wah.
thing. You could say like what is the core essence of Batman?
Yeah, so I mean, what's funny is even the same argument can be brought up about, for example, Abrahamic religions. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And then which one? Well, Islam was the most recent.
Sure.
Did they have the opportunity to go look at how the other guys might have been screwing things up and trying to perfect the Abrahamic practice? I mean, it's...
I don't know a whole lot about Islam, but I know that in the Quran, Jesus is quoted, so they obviously are drawing from old previous ones.
He's a prophet.
So...
He is a prophet.
So in that sense, yeah, the Quran is the most Batman of all the Abrahamic
religions.
religions.
So what does this have to do with La Llorona? Okay, so I'm just bringing it up. I don't think there really is a right answer. And like Cody was saying, well, for me, like for me, I think the Tim Burton Batmans were pretty good. Christian Bale was also pretty good, and Ben Affleck, it's all right. He did a good job. He did the best Ben Affleckiest job he could do.
Batfleck, I believe.
Batfleck.
So
So La Llorona is the same kind of thing in the sense that is there one La Llorona? Is there one unique La Llorona? Is one version of the story correct, and all the other ones are corruptions of it or wrong? And I bring this up now because I don't want your listeners, I guarantee if I don't bring this up, you're going to get some listener going, look, La Llorona is part of my culture and my heritage, and you screwed it up. And it's like, no, there's a bajillion different kinds of La Llorona stuff. Part of what's interesting, though, is to go back to like the earliest La Lloronas that we can find. I don't know how old. I can't say definitively how old La Llorona is. What we can say is clearly La Llorona is much older than people might think, and it goes at least through Aztec materials. But I found a La Llorona archetype seems to exist among the modern and ancient Maya as well. But they don't call her La Llorona, and she has a number of different attributes that aren't ascribed to the modern La Llorona that you will see in movies and stuff, where it's not necessarily a crying woman. In fact, the Maya La Llorona is actually an attractive lady that lures men to their death by bodies of water.
Oh.
I found in my research that I was doing, there are still stories of La Llorona where she is still luring men to their death.
The siren version of La Llorona.
Kind of. Although in this one story I was reading, it was unclear if she was doing a subjection or this was a guy who was basically taking advantage of a woman he found on the streets because he was a position of authority. And then the comeuppance is, oh, it turns out you raped La Llorona and now you die.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, okay, so I, for one,
Don't even know what this is at all.
No, I, for one, am not familiar with La Llorona. So before we start looking at all the different variations, is there a standard we can tell?
Well, there's a modern standard, a modern range. Like Batman has a Batmobile.
Right.
Even if it's a big high-tech army tank.
Right.
Okay. La Llorona, in general, is like a phantom woman.
Okay.
A spectral woman who is found around bodies of water, but some will say around crossroads. And I would say, one isn't right and one isn't wrong. It's, again, variation. And she's not a good thing in the sense of she's looking for children, her children. That is, somehow she's associated with a loss of children. And it can be that she died in childbirth or she drowned her children. But it somehow seems that she's in the need to find more children to take and potentially drown. But she can also do it to adults. And so if you are walking around at night near a body of water and you hear a woman wailing. So llorar, the verb, it means to cry, to moan, to weep, to mourn by extension. So La Llorona is like the woman who is weeping or crying or wailing. Okay. But in a more metaphorical sense, she's this woman in mourning, this phantom mourner.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the modern movies, like she wears all white. I don't know if that was originally part of the thing.
I was finding stuff where they described her actually wearing black.
Yeah.
Like one would wear to a funeral, maybe.
Yeah,
or
and so it kind of, again, where's your Batman? Where's your La Llorona?
Exactly.
Stories change, the details change.
Doesn't the Batman make a good metaphor? Doesn't it?
That works really well because there have been a lot of versions. I don't know if there's ever been a Batman in white, but probably.
It's a shame that we're using a male analogy to explain this female character, but the only other analogy that I could think of where I could do the same thing as Batman is either James Bond or Robin Hood, and that's just as bad.
Yeah, well, I don't think it makes it bad. I mean, it's like a metaphor is a metaphor.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why it is a metaphor.
Yeah.
So let's back up for a second. So Mesoamerica. So we find La Llorona or the similar things in Mesoamerica. What is Mesoamerica? It's not really a geographic distinction. It's actually a cultural distinction. because if you map Mesoamerica, you go from like halfway down Mexico, like central Mexico, and then all the way down through Guatemala and Belize, and then to like Honduras, and then you kind of get a cut off at Honduras. Like,
Oh, okay.
Honduras isn't 100% Mesoamerica, it's sort of northern Honduras.
Oh, okay.
So what it is that is the region where ancient societies there, for one thing, were all in contact with each other in some form or another. Even if they weren't contemporaneous, it's like even the Aztecs were inheriting things from people in central Mexico generations before they ever arrived.
Well, because also the Aztec, didn't they actually come from Baja California and they like went up and around?
I don't know about Baja California, but they did certainly come from the deserts farther north, outside of the range of Mesoamerica. And they just kind of came in and like, we're just going to adopt this, like they said that, was it Teotihuacan? Like, we did that. Because nobody else could contradict them. Yeah, they moved into the area and they did a very good job of quickly learning the culture, assimilating. They may have spoken a similar language, maybe not. And they were very effective politicians and very effective, warriors. They were very good at combat. Okay, backing up though. So Mesoamerica is an area of the world where the ancient civilizations all shared common traits because they were all in contact with each other constantly. So they all have step pyramids, meaning pyramids with steps going up them. So not the same thing as an Egyptian pyramid. Totally different kind of thing. Yeah. And for different reasons. Things like they worked jade, which is jadeite itself is an impossibly hard stone, and it was a precious thing. They had rubber. They were basically the first populations to have a rubber ball game.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Was that from a rubber tree?
Yes.
Wow.
And they found a way to chemically vulcanize it. So rubber itself is like chewing gum. It doesn't have memory. But for us, we vulcanize it. We heat it with some sulfur, and it causes it to kind of have a memory.
It sort of tempers it in a way.
Yeah. Okay, and so what happens is we come to find out that they were chemically doing it with a kind of juice from a morning glory species.
Wow.
They were chemically tempering it, so the balls didn't go squish. The balls
hard
bounced.
rubber.
Yeah. And so there's a whole list of things. One of the things they also had in common was writing. It does appear that the writing systems of Mesoamerican societies appears to have a single common origin, but exactly where and who, not entirely sure. The farther back in time you get, there's less artifacts to go find, basically. They're harder to get. But when we say Mesoamerica, we're talking about the Aztecs, the Olmec, the Maya, the Teotihuacanos, the Zapotecs,
This is modern-day Central America, but not all the way down to Panama.
It's not Central America. Yeah, it's basically you go and you start in central Mexico.
Yeah.
Just above Mexico City, and then start working your way all the way down. And then once you get like past Guatemala, once you hit Honduras, it's like, all right, cut off there.
Everybody south of that were kind of doing their own thing in a different culture.
What's funny is you can see there's a blast radius of like these people had some contact with Mesoamerica. But once you get beyond those boundaries, it's like, guess what? They don't have writing, or they may not share the same calendar. That's another thing. They all shared the same. It's a 260-day cycle day calendar. Like we have 7 days of the week. They had 20 days of the week.
Oh.
And then they do this weird thing. They do this weird thing.
Man, waiting for the weekend?
No.
Takes you almost a whole month. That sucks.
Yeah, but the cool thing, I mean, you think about our names of our weekdays, right? It's like Sunday, Monday. Those were real rocket science choices. Like, well, how long did it take you to think of those? And then it's like, and then you have like Saturn and Freya and Woden and all that stuff. Okay, but they have days like Earthquake is the name of one of the days.
Nice.
And Crocodile. And,
I like this.
Like Flint Blade, or Obsidian Blade.
A week that long almost counts as a little mini month, really.
Well, yeah, and in fact, what's also interesting is they measure months in sets of 20 days. So their week is their month and week are kind of merged into a set of 20 days.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And so you have 18 of these 20-day months a year, and then you have 5 extra days, which are like the super evil days where nobody goes outside and you just lay low.
Those days, those are a wash.
So that was the 360, the nice number, and then there's 365 days in a year. Yeah. So those are the 5 days off.
The 5 evil days. There's some, like among the Lacandon Maya, they have some stories about this. It seems that in the primordial universe, the Lord of the Underworld kind of broke the machine, wrought havoc for 5 days, and so it sounds like that, like way back in ancient times, they were thinking that the Earth, we were supposed to have 360 days a year. The Lord of the Underworld screwed things up, and no one was sort of on the work schedule for those 5 days. They didn't exist before. So it's 5 days that there are no gods watching over the world, and so that's when all the evil shit can come up.
Wow, the five leap days at the very end.
So that answers I was going to ask if they were consecutive days or if they were broken up throughout the year, but no, they all happen at once.
Consecutive.
At least it's not a full week. It's only 5 days. It's only a quarter of a week.
So some of this calendar will figure into some of the stuff we're getting into.
Okay.
Kind of cool. there again, whatever I could say about La Llorona, what's talked about La Llorona today, there's going to be one of your listeners going, I've never heard of that. That's wrong. Okay. But things like a fun one is that if you are walking near a body of water at night, notoriously haunted by La Llorona, if you hear her crying close to you,
Oh, you're fine.
it actually means she's far away.
Yeah.
And if you hear her off in the distance crying, you're in deep shit.
So there's an
close.
inverted
Yeah.
amplitude. Like, okay,
Yeah. No, there's
Some kind of Doppler thing.
yeah, exactly. It's bouncing off the.
She's a ventriloquist.
Yeah, exactly. She's throwing her voice.
There's a lot of kind of fun, silly stuff like this in Mesoamerican folklore. There, like for example, there are these very small people that are a holdover from one of the previous universes, and duende would be a Spanish name, but they're called alush in Yucatec Maya, and like at least one of the villages that I was like staying in doing fieldwork in, they very much believe the alush are a real thing. In the household I was staying in, the father of the house is like, I will leave out tortillas and beans for the alush, and sometimes it only rains on my cornfield and mine alone.
Oh wow.
But the fun thing is, the story is that if you see the little, like almost childlike footprints in the forest and you follow them, you won't find them, because some say their feet are on backwards.
Oh, so you'd have to follow backwards.
Yeah.
With the heel
You were
front.
going to where they were. You should be going to where they are.
Yes.
That's
so
fun.
I mean, it's just kind of fun stuff like that. So yeah, La Llorona. Now you can either be drowned by La Llorona or made to disappear, or if you survive, you can be driven mad by La Llorona. Okay, let's go back. Let's just walk it back in time. Okay, so the Aztecs had a deity called Cihuacoatl. Now, the TL, when you see Aztec spellings, there's often a TL or an L or a Li or
Oh, I've
Tli.
seen that, yeah.
Okay, the TL is not Tol.
Nope.
So the volcano in central Mexico is not Popocatépetl.
Oh, okay.
It's Popocatépetl.
Oh wait.
This episode's cursed. My neighbor's now using power tools. Attempted curse number 5.
Okay, say that again.
Popoca is the root for smoke.
Okay.
It's actually poca, but you reduplicate. Popoca means like smoking.
Cody checks his notes.
And then tepetl is at the end. Tepetl is the word for mountain.
Oh, okay.
So it's a volcano, smoking mountain.
Now that same sound I know shows up further north in Navajo, but it's from a completely different origin. It just happens to be a similar.
Yeah, it's a legitimate sound in a number of languages.
Yeah.
You know, it's not common.
But you always hear people say like Quetzalcoatl. No.
Coatl. No. So anyway, Cihuacoatl, and so Siwa is a root for meaning like woman, and Coatl is the word for snake, and I mean, it can get translated as snake woman, but you could also translate it as something like female snake. But the
I
images,
see.
But the images of this deity are indeed a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, by the way, it was also a title. It was an office in Aztec politics. It was like high. Let's go back to Garth's place.
It was a title in Aztec politics.
Yeah, it was also a title in Aztec politics. It was like high judge or high magistrate.
Was it always held by a
I
female
don't think
person?
so.
Okay.
I don't know if that was the case. But anyway, Cihuacoatl, she was like the patron goddess of midwives and fertility and pregnancy and infant mortality and also sweat baths.
Oh.
It seems to be a common thing in Mesoamerican cultures that if they have sweat baths, not everybody does, but they often, a lot do, is that they're often associated with midwives and pregnancy, where it's a thing like for women to use a sweat bath, but it has to be managed properly so you don't overheat and all
Right.
that. But sweat baths are I've had the opportunity to do an actual traditional Maya sweat bath in southern Guatemala. It was one that the household had working plumbing for years, but they still had a sweat bath in the front patio that they used occasionally. And I talked them into it. I'm like, can I do it? And they're like, sure. It was hot as hell. It hurt.
How did it work? Did they do a fire in a room?
It's basically like a very small stone room. You could fit no more than 2 people in it. It's
I see.
low ceiling, and it has a firebox in there. And on top of the firebox is lava rock.
Ah.
And interestingly enough, men aren't allowed to handle the materials in the sweat bath.
Ah.
It is actually technically the property of the oldest woman in the household. It is her thing. even she's the only one who can go find the lava rocks that go in there because they're sacred objects. It's not just any old lava rock. So, but yeah, they really clean you. They're very healthy, and they really, I mean, you don't have to bathe for like a week after doing one.
Wow.
Okay, so Sequoidea. Okay, so she's the patron goddess of these kinds of things. Not uniquely so. There are a few other deities that are associated with such things. She's also attributed with creating this current race of humanity. Where it was one of the gods had gotten bones of ancestors in the underworld, brought them up, and she ground them up like flour. And some accounts will say that she also got maize and made maize dough, because previous attempts at humanity were made out of things like wood or clay, and they didn't work out. And so that's why, like the little tiny people, the Alush, they were made of clay. And
They were a
kind of a
previous
failure.
attempt.
So she was basically the baker of our generation of humanity. The current one, made out of maize. There's some stories. So she had a child of her own named Mishkowat. Mishkowat could literally be translated as something like cloud snake. So what's interesting is he's a deity. He's a war god. And she abandoned him. She basically abandoned him at a crossroads. And so she often returns to the crossroads to go look for him and is wailing because she misses him.
Very different story than the other versions. Okay.
She basically had to leave her son. There's a few interesting little side notes here. So a Mishkowat is not uniquely Aztec. There is a thing, cloud snake is what it would be in most languages. And I've even seen in Aztec and Mixtec codices, books, paper books that they had, an image of a Mishkowat. And it's like a cloudy blue snake. It's a snake with little clouds all over it. Okay. What is it? Is it a real thing? So it is a god, but there's also this separate phenomenon that's a Mishkowat. I saw it once, and when I saw it, I was like, I get it. I was at the site of Teotihuacan, which was this gigantic city, this third largest pyramid in the world.
I've heard of this. Yeah.
Teotihuacan. It was made by the Teotihuacanos. That's just okay. The name. They didn't call themselves that. We have some ideas what they call themselves, but nobody, the Teotihuacan Basin is north of the Valley of Mexico. I look up and I see a single long skinny cloud that's following the path of the valley, so to speak, and it's rippled back and forth. So it looked like a snake. It looked like that's a cloud snake.
Yeah.
I get it now. And it looked like the kind of cartoony drawings of it,
Do you think that the wiggles were related to the mountain range?
I don't know. Sometimes you can get weird air currents that kind of make things zigzag. I'm sure meteorologists could explain this in a heartbeat.
But it might have happened a lot, and that's where it is.
I saw it, and it was noteworthy. It was very noteworthy because there was no other clouds in the sky. It was just this long, skinny, snake-like cloud that rippled, and I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I imagine if you lived there, you would see him quite a bit.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah.
So it was just an interesting side note. So here we have this Aztec goddess who is already associated with the loss or abandonment of a child and returning to the crossroads to go look for him. Okay, the crossroads is an interesting thing because it might actually be an astronomical location. In the sense that Mishkowat is associated with the Milky Way. So what's the crossroads? So what would be the crossroads? It would be the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the path that the sun and moon appear to travel across the sky, as well as the visible planets.
Oh, so I see where you're going with
where
this.
The Milky Way
is
and the
different. The line of the Milky Way that's the plane of the galaxy, which is not on the ecliptic at all. So you're getting two different lines across the sky that meet at 2 points. They meet at one point, and then they meet at another point, 180 degrees.
The two major roads cross in the sky.
Yeah.
And I think it's around Sagittarius is where one of them crosses. Is where one of the intersections is. So
I should know this, but I can't. Yeah, that sounds right.
I used to know this.
I'm
just reminded of this. So we have to keep in mind that, like, a lot of religions, it's not just about imaginary stuff. It's like, no, look up. I mean, it's based on things that were sort of celestial landmarks. Portrayals of her. She's often a woman with a skeletal face.
And I've seen this.
She carries a shield and spears because childbirth was also perceived as a type of warfare, of combat. It is literally capturing the soul of the unborn child while giving birth.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So you're like fighting to catch.
You're fighting to bring a life into the body.
Freud would have a lot to say about the idea of like, oh, so your life begins with you in battle with your mother. Tell me about that.
So is the idea like this preborn spirit is floating around and part of giving birth is grabbing it out of the.
As far as I understand, but I'm not the guy to say for
Right.
certain,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Okay, we don't make too many assumptions.
But see, so what happens then is women who die in childbirth are the same as
warrior.
male soldiers who die in combat.
Okay.
And it's those are two very venerated kind of deaths where there is a special heaven that
They
you
get
go
to go like a Valhalla.
Yes, there's a special Valhalla for that where you get to escort the sun every day into the west.
Ah.
And there's some stories were reporting that it's also then escorting the sun, birthing the sun through the underworld and back up again. Okay, so she's shown with implements of warfare, but also shown as a skeletal woman, often showing breasts and make it very clear, and sometimes having again snake like a snake belt or some kind of snake, but it's not. It does not.
She isn't a
It's
snake.
not required. No,
Yeah,
not
okay.
a snake. And so she's thought as a deity to also haunt crossroads, and to basically has a penchant for taking unattended children. So you would think it's paradoxical that a deity who is responsible for childbirth and midwifing and
That's very noble.
pediatrics
Yeah.
is going around at night and kidnapping kids.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it would. Is this a villain or a hero?
Maybe the souls are being recycled.
No, oh God, no,
She has to get the souls
no,
that then
no,
become the next
no,
children.
But see, think about it this way. My parents never did this, thank God. But I know friends when I was a kid whose parents did this kind of demented stuff.
Leave them at crossroads?
No.
I'm so
Abduct children
curious what you're about to say.
Did you ever know anybody, or do your parents do this when you were a kid, that if you left a toy laying around, they would take it? Be like, I don't know what happened to your Tonka truck. I saw it in the front yard and now it's gone.
Oh, gaslighting.
Maybe some other kid took it. You know,
That's
like,
fucked up. No, my parents never did that because they loved me.
I've heard of people who they're
God.
like, oh, you left your bike out, so I gave it away. But they really did give it away because they're just dicks.
That's a dick move.
But both is a dick move. Hiding it and
Well,
then
it seems like this may be that paradox where it's the moral of the story is keep a close eye on your children because the patron goddess of children is going to take them if you don't manage them.
Okay.
You know, like who
Yeah.
left the baby out in the front yard?
Right.
Someone else's mom took it. You know.
Okay, now I can see how that functionally works because it's encouraging people to keep an eye on their kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell is your kid doing wandering around?
Yeah.
It begs the question: what is your kid doing wandering around at night at a crossroads anyway?
and then also I guess then by extension I might be jumping ahead here, but then adding in the waterway is also a way of telling children, like, hey, watch out, water's dangerous.
Yeah.
Don't go near
Yeah.
the water unattended. Or
We've
while
seen
you're
that a
out.
lot. Yeah.
Do you know how to swim? No. Okay, stay the hell away.
Yeah.
But there's another interesting thing about the crossroads, and this is a cosmological thing. It seems to be pan-Mesoamerican. Why is the crossroads a significant spot? No, we have like in folklore, like especially in the South in the
we
United
did a
States,
whole
with folklore
episode on
where the
that.
devil
We did
hangs.
an entire episode on the crossroads.
Right. The
And it
devil-
keeps coming up.
The devil hangs
Yeah.
out in the crossroads. Okay.
Yep.
Well, if you think about it this way in Mesoamerica, so we have 4 directions: north, south, east, west, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those ones you can identify like, well, the sun rises in the east approximately, and so
About, yeah.
And then it's easy to find north in the northern hemisphere because you have that one damn star in the sky that never moves, and you see everything rotate around it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To hell with south. South is just a de facto,
Yeah,
opposite.
you can when you're in this. The Magellanic Clouds kind of orbit around, but there is no southern star specifically.
southern-
There isn't a southern landmark. Okay, so then
There's a southern cross.
then I ask you this question: what if I tell you there's 6 directions? What are the other 2 directions?
Oh, well, up and down. Or
Up
in
and
and
down.
out. In and out.
No, up and down, up and down. Well, see, the
Well,
thing.
from a globe, it really is.
Away from the center of the Earth and then
In
toward.
towards, yeah.
Okay, well,
Up and down.
in magical thinking, when you put the 4 directions together, you now have access to the center point. That gives you the location then to go up and down.
The Stargate locks, you get to go.
Okay, so the idea here is once you've established 2 dimensions, the third is obvious. It's at a right angle.
Once
to the
X
other
and Y
ones.
are lined up, then Z is lined up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right in the midpoint.
Okay.
So the crossroads is a dangerous spot because that's where things can fall from above or can come up from underneath.
Ooh,
can
I like
reach
that
up.
a lot. That's
or you
great.
Get it?
or you can
Yeah.
fall down.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dark things from underneath can then come up because you've now availed the third direction or third range of direction.
Okay.
And that's
okay.
why also potentially good or bad things from above can fall down and stomp on you and whatever. So it becomes an access point. It becomes like a supernatural access point. Mm-hmm. And even to this day, like among Quiche Maya, I have a couple of really good friends who are Quiche Maya, and man, the ghost stories they grew up with, and they're old ghost stories. These things go back thousands of years sometimes. But man, the ghost stories they grew up with, like Freddy Krueger's got nothing on Maya ghost
They're
stories.
pretty hardcore, huh?
So one of the things he pointed out is that in your house, the corners of a room are also kind of like little doorways.
Yeah.
So did you ever notice at night when you turn out all the lights, all the corners become these sort of dark voids?
Yeah.
Well, that's the scary thing. Those become the portals where things can come in
Yeah.
and out of the room.
I have watched a lot of YouTube ghost videos, and let me tell you, a lot of shadow entities appear in corners of rooms.
Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Yeah, so that's part of why it's the crossroads. It's not just because, it's just an arbitrary thing. Like, she appears only in the front of a 7-Eleven,
Right.
It's more to it of like all the bad shit shows up at crossroads.
Well, and if you have a house that is made with 90-degree angles, a corner of the room is going to be all three directions.
Well, yeah.
That's it. Domed houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see,
So solve the problem.
What's fun though
Domes.
is that a lot of the traditional Maya houses, like real old school traditional, they're not squared off. They're actually rounded on the sides.
Is that to avoid? Well,
No.
maybe
It's
not.
just
Okay.
it's architecturally convenient.
Interesting.
But yeah, if you've got corners, look out.
If you lived in an environment where the walls were round, anytime you went into a place that did have those corners, you would also feel a little odd. It'd be something you would probably notice.
Good point.
So I'll give you an example. It's a good like boogeyman kind of thing. So Quiche Maya in southern Guatemala. Again, story from my friend Miguel. He's like, Chapar Chiquin. Chapar Chiquin means the ear toucher. And this is a supernatural entity. Again, we got Freddy Krueger. That's nothing compared to what these
Touches your ear.
the ear toucher. And so you ever like feel your ears get hot
Yes.
or something like that? That's the ear toucher.
Oh.
But what
I thought that was a niacin flush.
But see, with the ear toucher is also the thing that, like, late at night, you're staying up, you're watching a movie or something, and you hear some thud in the other room. The ear toucher. It's the ear toucher.
It's come to fondle your ears.
It's
you
also,
do.
and so that's the thing is, how does the ear toucher get in and out of your house? Those little dark corners, those little portals. The
Portal.
X, Y, and Z are lined up, and so the Stargate is opened.
I see.
Yeah, so it's. I love that they have a name for that, though.
Yeah, me too.
We would just do generally boogeyman, but boogeyman isn't really. Boogeyman's the thing under your bed that takes children away and shit.
Yeah.
But it's like, what the hell happened to the car keys? It's the ear toucher.
So the ear toucher can touch your ears, take your car keys, and make thuds in another room.
Yeah, but the ear toucher is apparently harmless. Like the ear toucher will not kill you.
More of a
or damage you.
gremlin.
There are other ones that will really mess you up, but the ear toucher is just more like that creepy little thing in your house that you just hear a thud in the other room. So women who die in childbirth, they were called the Sequoidea, or Siwat, that plural, Siwat. God damn it, we just need 40 minutes. Just
Yeah.
like 40 minutes. You're killing me. So the women who die in childbirth are given the title. They're Siwa. That's plural. Siwa again meaning woman, and singular it's a Siwa Teot at the end. It means like divine woman. Siwa meaning woman, and Teo or Teot is the root for a god or something
Okay.
holy.
Oh, okay.
And so we would call them like divine women or goddesses. Okay. But it's the women who die in childbirth, and they basically go to this afterlife. They have their own special afterlife, Siwatlampa. And Siwatlampa is like the place of the women, basically. And it's a dark place. It's not Oprah. It's not
Oh, okay.
It's not like the place of the women. It's a dark place.
So they get an exalted position, but the reward is just shitty.
It's not Valhalla. It's not.
Well, they don't have to hang out with the rest of us rabble who would be in the underworld, which sucks more. Okay. So
Oh, okay. So this is,
Yeah.
relatively speaking, not so bad.
It's like
Yeah, it's not so bad.
purgatory is preferable to hell.
yeah.
and
okay, got it.
they get the honor of escorting the sun into the west every day, and again possibly like helping rebirth the sun
I
through
see.
the underworld. They're often shown in imagery with having a skeletal face, like Siwa Kowat, having a skeletal face, and having, for example, very obvious postpartum features, like having enlarged breasts. It was make an effort to show nipples.
Right. Okay.
But they also make them, they make them look evil. They'll put claws on their feet sometimes and things like that. So how's this for precise detailing in the Aztecs? There's only 5 certain days out of the 260-day cycle that they ever show up, that they come down to the earth to mess with people.
Okay.
So to understand this, the Aztecs, like the other Mesoamerican populations, had a calendar that was a cycle of 260 days. So you have 20 day names, like we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
They
But
have
then
crocodile, earthquake,
yeah,
and so forth.
and then they did an interesting thing. It may have been that very, very ancient times there were two separate calendars that they merged together, because there's also a cycle of 13. And what they literally do is, we have nothing like this in our calendar. They put a number coefficient between 1 and 13 in front of each day name.
Oh.
So the day wouldn't just be like, the day is called monkey. It would be, today is 3 monkey.
Oh, okay,
8
and then
monkey.
20 days later, when monkey comes back, it'll be 4 monkey.
It'll be offset, but no, it'll be offset because basically we go the first 13 days, we start with one alligator. And then we go ahead 13 days, and that'll be numbered 13. But then the 14th day, it's numbered 1.
Okay.
So the next time we get back to the original day 1 alligator, it'll be 260 days later.
Oh, because the next one isn't going to be alligator because you're going 20 in one set and 13 in another.
A cycle of 13
so they gotta
overlapped
line up.
on cycles of 20. So it takes 260 days to get every combination.
Because 20 times 13
It's 260.
Got it.
So,
okay, I see.
You imagine every day name has a version of it that has 1 through 13 in front of it. Okay, so what's interesting is the day 1 house, 1 deer, 1 monkey, 1 eagle, and 1 storm are the days, the only days that the Siwa Teteo can come down and do bad shit.
And these are the consecutive days at the end of the year.
They're no.
Oh.
This one's not consecutive. This is
Oh,
5
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We have one day that
misunderstanding.
we have one day that has a number 1 in front of it.
Right.
The following day will have 2 in front of it, and the following will have 3 in front
Okay, I
of it.
see. So these are every
staggered
20
out.
days.
Yeah.
They're staggered.
They're
out.
staggered.
I
They're
see.
different than the 5
Okay.
leap days when evil.
Yeah,
can
something
walk
totally
in.
different.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what happens is they would come to the earth at crossroads.
Right.
And they would steal children. Mm-hmm. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they'd cause mental illness. But then the fun thing thrown in, seduce men.
Wow.
Yeah.
A wide range of things they
So
could
there's
be
this
doing.
other La Llorona-y thing that I don't know if they've incorporated in movies, but there could be this other aspect where it's like, well, if you're a kid, run. If you're a dude, you really run.
Yeah, watch out for another reason.
And that's why this is what would flip us over now to the Maya versions of this. But I'd say we're at the halfway point. If you guys we want to take a break.
This might be the perfect time to go dig for some bones.
Dig for bones.
Children's bones.
Children's the bones of children.
Drowned
across the
children's bones.
All right.
Did you grow up with a lack of parental supervision?
Do you know all the lyrics to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Remember Mayor McCheese and the Fry Guys?
Have an inexplicable love for the California Raisins?
Can you remember Madonna's original phase?
Then you might be a part of the Doom generation.
Laugh until you cry with us each week as we stumble blindly through the memories of the movies
And other random things.
that doomed us to be the salty, sarcastic, sardonic ladies you want to hang with.
You know us, you love us, you can't f***ing live without us.
Doom Generation, available everywhere you find podcasts.
Are you a new parent trying to find your way?
Or are you thinking of becoming a new parent and want to know what to expect?
Or do you not plan on having kids but just want to know what it's like?
Nobody without kids wants to know what it's like.
I'm Travis,
I'm Stephanie.
and we have just the show for you.
You, Me, and Squee is a new podcast where we explore the challenges of being new parents and everything we learn along the way. We'll talk about our experiences, different parenting philosophies and trends, giving our own perspectives, and talking about what worked for us and what didn't.
Let's face it, a lot has changed since our parents and grandparents were raising kids. So we're all kind of figuring out this new frontier for ourselves, and it can feel pretty lonely. So come join us for the journey where sometimes we'll laugh, sometimes we'll cry, but we'll always be real with you.
You, Me, and Squee. It beats listening to your childless aunt give her 2 cents.
Or any of your aunts, really.
It's like this will appeal to kids and stone.
Yep.
All right, are we back?
Oh boy, those were some bones, weren't they? Indeed, such bones. Yes.
Much
wow.
bones.
Wow.
Yes.
A
We're back.
plethora of bones to
A
be
plethora.
had.
They're right here in my hands.
So many bones were had.
So many.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we switch now to the southern end of Mesoamerica. That is,
Okay.
so southern Mexico, you have like Chiapas, and then you have it where it kind of curls up like a thumb. That's the Yucatan Peninsula.
Oh, okay.
And then down in through Guatemala, and then finally like northern Honduras. That's the Maya area. When we say Maya, we're not actually talking about a single people. We're talking about a set of related peoples.
Yeah,
There's like I think it's like 27 Maya languages, but I think 3 of them are pretty much extinct. But
wow.
But we do have, I mean, when I give especially public lectures about the Maya, there's why did the Maya disappear? And it's like, I got bad news for you. No, they didn't disappear. They're still around.
It's actually
Like,
good news. They're here.
Yeah, it is good news. It's like
Yeah.
the bad news is like, you got it wrong. Someone gave you some bad info. I know millions of people that would be upset to find out that they disappeared.
Right.
Yeah, like in the Yucatan Peninsula, I don't know how many million people speak Yucatec Maya still, and like, you know, in Guatemala, Quiche Maya, and like I think there's like 1 million speakers or close
Wow.
to it. I might be wrong. I got to check my stats, but last time it's like
A lot.
It just basically seemed clear like these languages don't seem like they're going to be facing extinction anytime soon. But there are smaller Maya populations where the languages could be gone in a few generations.
I knew somebody that was the native speaker of Zapotec.
Zapotec's got a healthy population of speakers.
He was Oaxacan.
Oaxacan. Okay, so for the modern Maya and ancient Maya, so we have records of this even going back to colonial times, like from Spanish accounts, but even then finding it in the archaeological record, because like a lot of other Mesoamerican societies, the Maya wrote about everything. They were very literate.
Yeah.
They wrote so much crap. They wrote more stuff than all the other Mesoamerican people combined.
What did they write on? What did they have?
All kinds of
paper?
stuff. They had paper books.
Oh wow.
They did.
Okay.
They had paper books. It's called a mate. It's a bark. It's like related to a fig tree, I think. It's an inner bark of a tree. They pound the daylights out of it. So it kind of has the vibe of like grocery bag paper, but with more fibers in it.
Okay.
And they would use like a plaster, like a gesso, to paint the surface so it becomes a white surface that will hold ink.
Wow.
And what's weird though is all the Mesoamerican books, they don't have a binding the way our books do. Is that what you do is you make a big long strip of paper and then you fold it accordion style.
Cool.
Oh wow.
And
so
so
these are very foldable then too.
They are.
That's
They're
a pretty
folded,
good
they're,
material.
the pages
Wow.
are folded up like that, like an accordion, like up, down, up, down. It's really cool.
Yeah.
There's quite a few Aztec books have survived, but there's only about 5 Maya books that have made it in some form or another.
Wow.
3 of which are the most intact, and there's 2 that are just fragments that they're not, you know. Okay, so the Shtabai.
Shtabai.
It's spelled with an X. So that's how we're just modern. We're marking the sh sound. Is Shtabai. Okay, so the X in front of that was probably originally Ishtabai, because we find forms of this name as Ishtab also. And so the sh or ish in front is a part of speech that doesn't exist in English. It's the female proclitic. And what it means is it makes it a feminine thing. So if we were to kind of try to translate it, it would be awkward. We'd be kind of like she of.
Oh, okay.
You know. Okay, and so tabai is, the root is tab. Tab is okay, let's back up. Linguistic note. There's a difference between a translation and a gloss.
What's a gloss?
Well, okay, so most of us think we know what a translation is, right? It's like, but let's say someone does not speak English and you're teaching them English, and then they know the word dog and they know the word hot, and you go, okay, this is a hot dog. They're gonna go, oh shit.
Oh
Don't
no.
eat it.
What did you do?
It's not hot, and it's usually not made of dog most of the time.
Right, okay.
So instead we would do it as a gloss, and we would say this is like a sausage or a frankfurter or something, because hot dog is kind of doesn't translate over well.
So is a gloss a secondary word so that there is not a misunderstanding?
It's a better word match that makes more sense.
Okay, I see.
Because if we directly translate hot dog, it's like, well, what is that exactly? Okay, it's a food. Is it dog? No. Is it hot?
Not
Sometimes.
necessarily. Okay, got it.
Mediocre pig butt sausage. Okay.
Right.
So that's why like for tub, it's basically a cord, or to tie a cord, to braid up a cord, to twist a cord, to knot. It's also used as a root for like a snare, like an animal snare. But we could also use it, for example, as like a garrote. And so it literally is something we would probably gloss as like strangulation women might be a better way to put it.
Or like women of the noose.
Women of the noose or something.
Oh, okay.
Even though it doesn't seem that they really use nooses.
Yeah.
But they do choke you out or drown you. And so
So it's more of a poetic description of what they do is similar to the function of this other thing.
yeah, or it could be that there was a further extension of the meaning of this word that's lost.
Just generally
you
meant
know,
like choking. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's why I mean, we could call it a cord woman or something like. But I would rather. It's probably preferable to gloss it as like strangulation women or garrote women or something.
Got it.
Even though they don't use a garrote. I have known of no stories where they're actually using a rope or anything. They got enough strength. They don't need a rope. Okay, so
Hands-on.
one of the funnest things as an anthropologist is like when I'm in the Yucatan is like last time I was in the Yucatan over a decade ago, I was on vacation. But what I was doing at night, which was fun, is like at the hotel bar, whatever, you're talking with the employees. They're all Yucatec Maya, and usually bored because like when I was there was almost nobody there. You just sit around and drink and get them to tell you ghost stories. and so everybody has a Stabai story. Everybody has a Stabai story, and nobody ever has a first person Stabai story. It always happened to some guy in the next village over. Always that way. It's always the friend of a friend kind of thing. And yeah, it's a lot of fun because everybody's got the stories, and it's interesting to see that there's some really old details that are still being passed along, which is kind of cool. Like you have no idea how centuries old some of these details in your folktale is.
Wow.
We have south of the Yucatan Peninsula, we have the Lacandon jungle. It's like a rainforest. It's in Chiapas, deeper at the base of the thumb, so to speak.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
The Lacandon Maya live there. They were effectively or are effectively the last non-conquered Maya peoples. That is, they were so far in the forest when the conquest happened, they just got overlooked.
Wow.
They were out of the way.
So they have a consistent history where they were never.
They've had a continuous tradition
Wow.
of practicing an unbroken practice of their religion.
I didn't know
And so
that existed.
Complete with human sacrifice?
No.
Well, that's
and
nice.
so the thing is, they have Shtabai, they have Ishtab. She's named as the wife of the death god of the underworld. So Kisin is her husband's name. He's not the head of the underworld, but he's like the prince, if you will, and he's death. He's actually, his name is funny. It gets translated as farter because but that's not entirely correct. See, it is Kisin, but it originally meant killer. What is it was
Silent
originally
but deadly.
his name was originally something like Kim-sin. Kim or Kimi is like the root in that area of languages, the root for death. And so Kimes or Kim-sin would be killer or one who makes death. The S in there is like an agentive kind of thing. It makes you the agent of. So somehow the name just went from Kimasin or Kim-sin to just Kisin. You could see how it gets
Sure.
pumpkin becomes punkin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but what's funny though is the word for fart is kies. And so,
I see.
and so of course you can imagine there's a lot of modern jokes around the farting,
Yeah.
Okay.
Farting death.
By the way, I pointed that out to a Maya friend once. I was like, I think it's an onomatopoeia. And he's like, what's that? I'm like, keys. like, doesn't it sound like it? And it had never occurred to him. And the funny thing is he was just left. And then within an afternoon, he went out and told everybody in town. It was like the best new joke. He's like, yeah, Tim. He's like, doesn't that sound like a fart? And he's like, I never thought about it. And nobody in the village either had. Like all of his family members, one by one, as I ran into them, they would make a keys joke at me, and they're like, yeah, I never thought about it that way. Okay, so
The potent meme, it'll never go away.
So Ishtab is actually gnarly enough that she is like perceived as the wife of the god of death for the Lacandon Maya. But okay, so the Shtabai, I think I can trace them as far back as around ballparky 600 AD. There's a very famous Maya painted vase called the Princeton vase. And it's probably the finest example of Maya painting. It's very spectacular, cartoonish, almost lifelike, and it shows the head lord of the underworld on his throne, and he's attended to by these 5 women. Well, not all of them, I think at least 3 of them have a name glyph in front of them that reads as Shanach Na, or just Nach Na. Well, the Sha, again, is the female. It means abhorred women. But it can also mean, Na can also mean mother. The abhorred mothers.
Oh.
And they appear to be like Kisin had, Ishtab is his consort. Here we have the Lord of the Underworld who's being attended to by the abhorred women.
Okay.
And so the Shtabai, if you're to ask most Maya people who believe in the Shtabai, okay, describe the Shtabai. Well, if you're farther down in the Yucatan Peninsula, you're more in the central, like Guatemala. they have ceiba trees, and ceiba trees are enormous. They're like the redwoods of the jungle, and they're also very sacred trees and very supernatural trees. Well, apparently the shtabai hang out inside the ceiba trees, like in the hollows, like that's their lair, and they're described as often appearing like beautiful women, just very attractive young women, and they tend to hang out near bodies of water. Interestingly enough,
Okay.
and you
Yeah.
know, or they're found loitering about the trail next to a body of water, like a pond or a thing called a cenote, which is like a sinkhole. And so they're described as being gorgeous, but they're hollow, like a hollow tree. So you imagine you make a movie of this, and what you do is you have this young protagonist, and this like almost like terrestrial mermaid seduces him.
Yeah.
And then she puts her arms around him to embrace him, and then he embraces her. It kind of does a wait a minute, and goes thump thump on her back, you know, and it sounds like a wooden drum, like thunk thunk thunk, like something's
That's
wrong.
kind of like
This reminds me of an episode where you were describing some
the Huldra.
Yeah, which only has the front surface, and there's no back.
Yeah, they're hollow, but in the back, and they're beautiful women in the forest, and they're hollow.
Yeah.
But hollow, not like you tap them and you hear it. It's like, no, if you were to look from behind, it's like I think it's like a
It's just
convex.
empty.
Yeah, just empty.
Well, it could be. I mean, there's some of the shtabai could be like that too.
I wonder
mean, it
if
could be-
that's parallel thinking, or if there's any. I don't know if there would be any relation, because that's. A
No,
whole
it sounds like the
different
Shtabai
culture.
one comes from a description of an actual physical attribute of the trees they're associated with. The trees have hollows in them.
But see again,
Yeah.
that's not in all shtabai, because there's areas where there are no ceiba trees that they
Okay.
still talk
Okay.
about the shtabai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the accounts that I've gotten is that they have long hair that keeps growing and growing, and you can't cut it. So if you see an older shtabai, you can tell it's one, because she'll have this long hair that eventually is rolled up into a big ball that she'll carry around in a bag. And that's kind of a giveaway. It's like, if you see an old lady carrying a bag of her own damn hair, run.
Wow.
And
just needs a
sometimes
haircut.
they're described as
Yeah.
having like talons on their feet or claws and so on. And they appear around water sources, and they seduce men and drown them or suffocate them.
With their hair?
Survivors can be driven mad, but they suffocate them. And so I've had at least a few accounts where they describe the hands of a shtabai, and that's one of the other ways you can tell it's not a woman, because what it is she has basically a thumb and her index finger and middle finger, and that's it.
The better to choke you with. You only need
Yes,
that
and
much.
yes, but that's it. I was asking. I'm like, well, what's that about? And what he does then is he pinches his nose shut between the knuckles of his index finger and middle finger, and then he uses the thumb to hold the chin up and to close the mouth.
There you go. That's all you need.
And so you imagine there's some dude out in the jungle going, "Oh shit, I thought this was a hot chick," and so they'll
Let that be a lesson to you.
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, damn it, I thought. So, yeah, and so that's kind of a cool
Yeah, damn.
detail there, and they can kind of launch themselves at you and fly or whatever. So there's been like accounts where it'd be like, of course, it's never someone you know. It's like, this happened to a dude, I swear, in the next town over. He was walking home at night, and the pathway is between two cenotes, which are like these sinkholes in the sandstone. They're like really deep.
Full of water.
And he sees this old woman walking toward him on the trail, and he notices she's got a bag, and all of her hair is going into the bag.
He can't go around her
So
because
he's
there's sinkholes on
things
either
are a bit
side.
sus, right? And
Yeah.
so what? But he's not paying attention. Mind you, this is the other thing is he's kind of young and dumb, so doesn't realize what's going on. But he bends over to tie his sandal. And at that very second, that's what saved his life. At that very second that he bent over, she had flown at him and actually just missed the target, flew over him because he ducked over. Now, here's the thing that's amazing. The guy that told me that version, clearly he did not know the whole point of what the tying the shoes was really about. And the point is, in a lot of the cosmology of Mesoamerica, especially among the Maya, plays on words are always the antidote or the protection from the demon.
Pun
if you will.
magic.
Pun magic.
Okay, so shtabai,
Nice.
the root is to tie something or to twist or to cord something.
Uh-huh.
What he was doing is he was leaning over to tab his shoes. And so other things are like salt. And so the play on words there is like ta'ab. There's a glottal stop there. Ta'ab is the word for salt.
Uh-huh.
So salt can also be protection against the shtabai.
because the word is within the other
and
word.
then also tab, it's a different kind of tea. Tab is to like light a candle, start a fire. So that may also be a way to save your ass from the Shabai.
Wow.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good stories about these. Again, they're like sort of terrestrial mermaids.
Yeah.
Why are they killing? I don't know.
Real quick, the thing you brought up about them being able to fly and launch in this iteration or version, like I said, I have seen. Was not joking when I said I've watched a lot of paranormal YouTube videos, and usually it's paranormal stuff caught on camera, and so I've seen actually quite a few Llorona videos, and there's one or a few of them where it's a figure in white that's going down the street, and then it suddenly just like vertically rises into the air, and everybody freaks out, and it's clearly a drone that is got like a rigging on it with just fabric,
with
right?
like flowing.
Yeah, right. But it's like, but that kind of shows that there is an expectation that La Llorona could potentially fly up into the air.
Well, it's a ghost.
Yeah.
If they're viewing it as a ghost and not like a demon or other supernatural, it's like, why the hell can't it fly?
Yeah.
You know, if it has the magic power to basically pinch your nose and mouth shut without you putting up a fight, of course it could fly. Why not?
It has that third set of directions going for it. It can go up and down.
It's multi-directional.
Yeah.
It is the crossroads, man.
Yeah.
So now we're flipping to something here. We're kind of going to bring it back forward. So, Hernan Cortez shows up in 1519 to basically conquer the Aztecs.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, part of it, too, is he doesn't have a lot of guys. So he basically finds who's around, who is not under the thumb of the Aztecs, who hate the Aztecs, and gathers all those guys. It was like, you know, and, but a really interesting thing that not a lot of people know, some people do, but like, I'd say a lot of American kids don't know about this. So he had to have a translator because, you know, Aztec isn't something you learn overnight. By the way, the technical name for the language, we would call it classical Nahuatl. Mm-hmm. Okay. So he had a translator. And sort of the modern Spanish corruption of her name, they call her La Malinche. But it's very likely her original name was Malintzin. And that goes back to the calendar, which is another interesting thing. Okay, so we'll get to that in a sec. So La Malinche, she was probably born around 1500. And she died in like 1529. She died when she was like 28, 29 years old.
Okay.
So she was the translator for Hernan Cortez when he approached the Aztecs. So she was quite young, actually. Basically, she was of likely noble family. She was probably born somewhere along the East Coast, likely in Veracruz. And somewhere between the age of 8 to 12-ish, she had been either sold or abducted or kidnapped or whatever, because it seems clear her parents were dignitaries. They were of means. It was reported that she spoke a type of a register or dialect of Nahuatl, which is like the elite official.
Okay.
You know, the fancy Nahuatl.
What the lords and ladies speak, not the common folk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And so she was bought. She was sold at this port called Xicalanco, and she was bought by the Chantal Maya. She was bought by Maya traders. These Maya traders that basically, they're kind of like truckers, that they would go from central Mexico, which had a whole different set of resources, to southern Mexico, to the Maya area, and they were kind of like teamsters, and they were really into this stuff. So they were very extensive traders. So she was now the possession and custody of Chantal Maya traders. So she learned Chantal Maya, and I have little experience with Chantal Maya, but I think you can wing your way through Yucatec Maya if you know enough Chantal Maya.
Okay.
And, you know, and likely if she's hanging out with these traders, she may have learned Yucatec Maya also. Those two languages they're not entirely mutually intelligible, but they're not distant relatives. So the funny thing, so what happens is Cortez shows up 1519. There was another guy, a guy named, what was his name? Aguilar. His name was Jerónimo de Aguilar. Jerónimo de Aguilar was shipwrecked in 1511 in the Yucatan Peninsula and taken by the Yucatec Maya.
Uh-huh.
Cortez shows up 8 years later and frees him. It's not clear if he was in full captivity or he just became Maya. In fact, he was like, all right, I'm going to join you guys. I'm stuck here. You got good food.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
It's like,
got
I'm
some-
never getting out of here. Why not just make the best
you
of
guys
it?
have nice beaches. You're pretty cool. And so it ends
Not
up...
a little iffy on the heart ripping out thing, but
so-
everybody's got their thing.
Jeronimo de Aguilar learned Yucatec Maya. So what happens is when Cortez goes to the Aztec capital, and mind you, the Aztecs weren't fighting him. The Aztecs, they didn't think they were a threat. They were kind of like, oh, these guys are coming to say hi, and maybe they want to pay tribute.
There's not many of them.
It was
to
a
be
civil
threatening.
thing. It was a fucking civil thing, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is Cortez would say to Aguilar, tell them we say hi. And then Aguilar in Yucatec Maya would say to La Malinche, tell them we say hi.
Oh, so
And
he's
then La
literally
Malinche
saying.
would say in Nahuatl to the Aztecs, they say hi.
Purple monkey dishwasher.
Yeah. And then the Aztecs would say back, tell them we say hi also. And then she would say in Yucatec Maya to Aguilar, they say hello also. And then Aguilar in Spanish will, they say hello.
That's a long conversation.
Okay, so what's funny is I've read things where they go, well, they don't really know what her name was because it was lost because she was a captive, and her Spanish name was Marina, and that they just La Malinche is a corruption of Marina, and it's like, no, I fucking hate when people don't do their homework, because okay, so try this out. Back to the calendar. When you're born, this isn't all Mesoamerican ancient Mesoamerican populations did this, but a lot of them did it, and it's kind of messed up. When you're born, you're named originally after the day you're born on. And so as like a little infant, I would be like 11 Storm would be my name.
Oh,
right?
okay.
And you just pray among the other 260 kids around you, there isn't some other kid that's 11 Storm, because then you have to fight over the name. Or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
One of you gets to be big 11 Storm, and the other one's younger 11 Storm. I don't know. Okay, so that's kind of your calendar name. And then for like the ancient Maya, you see this thing that about around the age of 2. Well, they have this thing where they'll grow a little ponytail on the top of your head. When it gets long enough, they'll cut it, and you now get an official human name as well.
Okay. You have to make
so
it.
You think about this. It's the same reason my sister's a farmer. The same reason she doesn't name animals on the farm that she's going to kill and eat. You don't get too comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, don't get too comfortable because 5 flour may not survive infant mortality statistics.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you name the kid Thursday until you're sure that the kid's going to survive infancy.
I mean, it's sort of practical, I guess. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Infant mortality.
So here's the messed up thing. The Maya did this, and it sounds like other populations were doing this too, is if you become a prisoner of war, they start calling you by your calendar name again.
Oh, you're a baby.
Ooh.
And
possibly not going to survive much longer.
Like,
Is the
we're just calling you
implication.
Friday because we're not getting too comfortable with you because you may not be around.
And also, yeah, you're essentially your property now that can be bought and sold. So again, yeah, I don't want to get attached to you.
Well, you lose. It's effectively like
You
you
lose
don't,
your humanity.
You don't have the rights of a person anymore. So
Yeah.
you don't really get your person name. So there was an argument that her name couldn't have originally been something like Malintzin because the Aztec calendar day Malinali, which is like grass, and you can see how her name was. The argument against this whole thing is like, well, Malinali was a bad day. It was an evil day, and no one would name their kid that. Well, they didn't name their kid that. The kid was, it was the baby name. And okay, it's a shit day. Look, there's a day called death, and
Kids are born on every day,
Yeah.
so some kids are gonna get that name. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Colonial era record was talking about the naming thing. Is it like the day death?
We've talked about this before.
Did we?
Yes.
That you don't
this-
name
is this
your
the
kid
thing-
death. You wait a day.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
And then
the
your
thing
kid's
where-
named Deer.
Yeah,
Yes.
where you like pretend like, oh, the kid wasn't born quite then. We're just gonna change the birth
You just have
certificate.
statistically twice as many kids named Deer.
Yes, the three of us have had this exact same conversation.
This
argument-
is the I was born a minute to midnight, but maybe I was actually born July 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay, but Malinali
Yeah.
grass is not like the worst omen day or anything, and I could see it you just let it go.
Yeah.
But the argument was like, no, nobody would name their kid that, and it's like, well, seems they did, but it's like, who would use such a stupid name? Well, she didn't. The point is,
She's
she
a
became a slave, like
Yeah.
somewhere between 8 and 12 years old.
Okay, I see.
They didn't use her official royal name anymore. They just used her damn calendar name, her livestock name, which happened to be something Malinali. Like they even ditched the number, kind of got lost.
And it's a real
So
move of like psychological control too,
Yeah.
and disrespect, because she was nobility. So
Yeah.
yeah, you said she had a noble name, and they're like, yeah, no, you are just a piece of chattel.
So what's interesting though is her name is Malin Tsin, and that Tsin is what we call an honorific suffix. It is something that you don't put on everything, but it means like honored or noble or whatever. So she was Grass was her name, but it was noble. She was divine or noble. Not divine. Divine would be something different, but it's sort of like a noble woman Grass.
Okay.
She even had a further title, which it's clear she wasn't something that she carried. I kind of get the feeling this was a title that she got after she was hanging out with Cortez. And so she would be called Malin Tsin Tenepal. And Tenepal, Tene, again, this is a gloss versus, Tene literally means something like to have lips, which,
Okay.
that's, I know people that don't have lips, but really what it means is to speak adeptly, to speak really well, to be
Like,
a good
okay,
orator.
You know, like, yeah, calling somebody, like, I don't know, worm tongue.
Or something like,
You know,
they
like,
got,
yeah.
they got,
What is a positive mouth?
Well, no, he's
term?
well, no, I mean, like, he was called worm tongue because it means worm is in dragon, because dragons are crafty and could speak.
Okay.
And tongue, like, to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that it's the same kind of nomenclature.
like silver,
Yeah, I see
silver
what you're
tongue.
yeah, silver tongue
Sure.
or something like
There
that.
you go.
Yes. Oh.
And so Tenepal, the Paul is like a suffix that kind of means by the means of. So Tenepal, you could say by the means of owning lips, but what it really means is like interpreter, translator. So
Okay,
Malin
yeah.
Tsin Tenepal was like literally Malin Tsin, the interpreter. And so what's funny is then so her name becomes Doña Marina. So Malin becomes reanalyzed as Marina. Doña is a title that usually if you're a dignified person, I would be Don Timoteo, and my fiance would be Doña Alessandra. But like nowadays in the Yucatan, like anyone who's younger than me calls me Don Timoteo. Don
It's an
Timo.
honorific.
It's an honorific for
It's
an
an
older
honorific
person.
thing. So it's the equivalent of covering the Tsin part of her name. Doña Marina Malin Tsin.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
they also call her Doña Marina La Lengua, which means the tongue.
tongue.
But it's the translator. So Doña Marina the tongue. But it's Doña Marina the translator. Okay. So here's the thing. Like, at least nowadays, if you call someone a malinchista, it kind of is like calling them a Judas.
Oh,
Here's
because
what
she
helped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cortez.
So
Okay.
there's what's interesting is there is a kind of mixed views of her, because what happens? She has kids with Cortez. She marries Cortez.
Ah.
Yes. And so her first son, what was his name? Martin, I think. Yeah, Martin. He was considered the first mestizo, the first person of Native American and European ancestry.
Ah,
Like
okay.
the first Mexican. He became the first guy of native blood and European conquistador blood.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So for some people, that's like a very profound thing. It's like, this was the moment when we became what I am today, or what you know.
Well, because most people living there are
A lot.
a combination.
A
Yeah,
lot.
so that would be significant.
Yeah, a great majority can trace their ancestry to both Europe and Native American populations. So that's kind of cool. But at the same time, it's like, she kind of helped the Spanish.
Yeah.
She kind of was like the secretary for.
Yeah.
She kind of helped grease the wheels as far as communication.
Yeah, if she
and-
wasn't there to act as that step in translation, would the interaction have gone down the same?
Yeah, and it's hard to say what agency she had in the equation.
Yeah, that's
because,
the thing
sure,
too. Yeah,
because
you gotta-
it sounds like it wasn't that she's just like, oh, can I come along for the ride? It's
Yeah, no.
more like someone, I think, sold her to them.
I think what I remember
Yeah.
Yeah.
reading was that she was given, along with like 5 other women, they were given
Yeah.
to Cortez's men
Yeah.
as like a bribe or as like a
Well, I
here's
think
a
it's-
present. Yeah.
Well, better yet, it's like, well, we can now understand you because your dude there can speak Maya.
yeah.
Okay, so this is why we also then get this weird kind of modern clusterfuck of La Llorona, where some say that La Llorona was a native woman from the colonial era, and she had married a conquistador or had children with a conquistador, and then he left her
Yeah.
for another woman or something like that, and so she drowned her children. Or so
Okay.
there's a whole
That's
list.
one of the origin stories. Yeah.
So there's this whole list of stuff that there seems to be a little bit of a Venn diagram overlap with La Malinche, because it's sort of like the idea of, okay, if you go far back in time, you're like, oh, where did the Shabai come from? There might have been an origin story. It might have been. Maybe not. Maybe it's just like, I don't know. It's just a demon that drowns dudes, right? But for us, I mean, come on. Freddy Krueger, the first Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yeah.
It was just good, scary. But then there's a point where if you go on long enough, like, we got to have an origin story.
Yeah.
Got to have a reason.
Let's flesh this out a
We
little
got to flesh
more.
it out. And so it seems like with La Llorona, there may have originally never been a reason, but people want that, right? People want they want the extended edition. They want the DVD extras. You know,
Well, I
the
think
movie.
that
We need
Also-
motivation to have it be a full character.
As I was
Yeah.
reading about La Llorona, I was thinking about, well, it's an evolution of a myth. That myth evolves, and so it's like humans, we never like to throw anything out really culturally.
Yeah.
We recycle, or we reinterpret, or we upcycle some of these things.
Yeah.
And so there was already this pre-contact set of traditions.
Yeah.
And then once the European influence comes in, then there's a bunch of stuff that comes from Europe that gets mixed in.
Right.
And then also, besides just mixing that in, there's the unique circumstances around that mixing and what
Right.
caused it. So all these things come together to create this figure that shows up anywhere you've got people from Mexico who moving. There it is.
But that's why you have it in the American Southwest.
Yeah.
It clearly is coming from populations from Mesoamerica.
And so as I was reading about her, I hit this point where I was like, wait a minute. If she's showing up in all these different places at the same time sometimes, like that would necessitate there being more than one, right? There has to be but then
That's Santa Claus physics, dude.
no, but
Everybody
then
knows that.
but the thing is, as soon as I thought that, then there is this piece that comes up in this article I'm reading that's they address it, where it's like this person telling the story is like, some of the stories about La Llorona is that she approaches people on the street, like watchmen or something like that, or policemen, and she asks them the time. And when they tell her the time, she shrieks and says, "But I'm supposed to be in Guadalajara right now." And then she shoots up into the sky or just disappears. So it's like she's cursed to always
She's kind
be,
of
it is the same lady, same entity, but she is has to be like,
she's overbooked her schedule.
yeah, it has to be
That's
in all
the
these
dumbest
places.
thing I've ever heard. Okay, but so backing up is that we can we can go with this though too. So cosmology, Mesoamerican cosmology. It does seem that, pre-Columbian times, most of the Mesoamerican societies had the similar layout of the universe, that we're on a flat plate, and on the underside of the plate, upside down, is the underworld. But there's an aqueous membrane between us and the underworld.
Okay.
Or the other way to put it is, all water systems are connected. All water systems are connected.
So like the surface of the Earth is as an island on a.
So if you go onto the other side, that same river is
it's just
there.
imagine an Oreo cookie.
Yeah.
And the
okay,
cookie
yeah.
is the surface, and the frosting is actually water.
Does the frosting stick out on the sides?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. probably because
That's
you
what I'm
get
thinking.
a coast. It probably,
Exactly,
yeah.
because the coast. Yeah, yeah.
But
So that's for the Aztecs. It was the Mayans. Imagine a Hydrox cookie.
it was a
Yeah.
the Maya was a Hydrox. And then and so this is why you have this area that is also the domain of the rain gods.
Oh,
where
okay.
they lurk down in like the subterranean rivers and caves and things like that. They're hanging out there in their watery mid realm, and then when it's time to rain, they'll go fly up. They'll grab their buckets of water and go fly up there and sprinkle it all around. Okay, so you got to imagine that La Llorona has got like kind of like her own transportation system. She's got her own underground, literally. She's got her own subway system.
Oh,
She,
so
she does have
Jump
a
in the
Stargate.
water and pop up somewhere else.
That's also
That's good.
If we said that Crossroads too, she's got her own personal Stargate, man. She just pops into, or more. I guess
she's
you could
moving
say
with the water cycle.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what if there's some bare minimum size thing. Like, can you have
Could you go to single water raindrop?
La Llorona of the toilet? Can you
Yeah, or does it get really small?
Do you remember when they had a Upright Citizens Brigade, the TV show? And they had an episode about the lady in the lake from Arthurian legend, and the idea is that she could come out of like anything, and she's at a frat party, and she comes out of a big tub of alcohol, and she's like, "I'm
Rad.
sorry, I've never emerged from grain alcohol before," and like then she's kind of like the mall fountain and stuff.
Yeah, that's. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the. I just kind of. I mean, La Llorona meaning the one, the right.
Yeah.
Definite article.
Yeah,
It's
It
not
is-
a bunch of her.
Una Llorona.
yeah.
Yeah.
True. That settles it.
But I don't know. I kind of think it's like I've never had anybody say there's only one Strabai.
Yeah.
It's like Strabai is a Strabai. It's like Bigfoot. There's not the Bigfoot.
Yeah. But this is
So
the
La Llorona, I don't know. Maybe I think it's modern people getting confused about the definite article law, like the Llorona.
yeah.
But then it makes it easier because then you can Freddy Kruegerize it and do a whole backstory about this one woman. And again, I do get these La Malinche vibes because again, it seems like a lot of people want to hate on La Malinche. Like she is. Just,
Oh yeah,
you know,
no, and like we said, we also it's like who's to say she was a willing participant, or she's somebody who found herself in a situation where she's like, well, I might as well make the best of this.
Yeah, and so what happens though is you get a lot of these La Llorona stories that are like a La Malinche story almost, where it's like, yeah, this woman, and she was like abducted by a conquistador and against her will was raped and had a child and then drown it, and then she mourned at the loss of her baby and wants to kill other babies, or, you know. It's not gonna. There's a lot of. I mean, you can do a bajillion different iterations of an origin story on this, but they'll have the same general vibe. It has to do with like loss of a child, and the more macabre twist would be that she killed her own children.
Yeah.
And then and sort of like in a serial killer rampage in the afterlife, she's still trying to kill
Well, it's
more
also
children.
in a way that imagery of the mother and sacrificing her own child is to La Malinche is. She is the mother of Mexico in a sense.
Yeah.
And she betrayed her own children.
Yeah.
Whoa. Metaphorical. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Is she betrayed? You know, she's viewed as betraying all the native populations, which is.
But also birthing them.
Most people
Yeah.
in Mesoamerica are still of native ancestry.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
And so yeah. So I mean, I could see how more recent politics and worldviews might be getting flipped into the La Llorona narrative if they didn't exist before.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Like the Stabai, it's not like the Stabai, or you know, you don't hear this kind of stuff with the Stabai. You don't hear this kind of stuff with the Stabai. But La Llorona is more popularized. There's a bunch of movies about them.
Yeah, when we do Garth's Corner, I'm gonna list off a bunch of songs and movies, basically.
People are more likely to have heard of La Llorona than they have of the Stabai, which seems to be more specifically Maya.
And
Okay, I see.
it also is spread beyond that because you get, well, actually, I think, like I said, anywhere where that used to be Mexico, you'll find a story that is the woman in white walking along a river or the road. An example, and I think, Garth, this will be a future road trip for us. We'll have to do kind of like we did with Hicks Road, which is the Niles Canyon Road north of San Jose and Fremont. Supposedly has a woman in white who walks along the river that runs through Niles Canyon, and it says that she goes back to the Spanish colonial period. She might have even been a Spanish woman, and there's all kinds of stories about
we'll
that.
have to look into that one.
So
yeah.
it's this thing that wherever the culture goes, the stories go with it,
And become localized for that area.
And you could see any of these things that could easily lend themselves to like politicization in some ways, where depending on where you go, her origin story is different based upon the prevailing views.
Yeah.
But remember, I just think of like early Bugs Bunny cartoons, and then World War II happens, and it's like Bugs Bunny's gonna fight that scoundrel Hitler, you know. And also, it's like, Bugs Bunny's now like fight like, can he just be a rabbit, you know? And so you can see that where it's taking on modern political value as well as just sort of the supernatural entertainment value. Yeah. But you could see it again. These stories. I mean, some of these kinds of things are of course just for the sake of telling a good ghost story because they're fun. I mean, the whole Least Haunted Campfire Club. I mean, that's the whole point of trying to kind of reinvent a digital version of being around a campfire and telling ghost stories because it's fun.
Yes.
But then some of these are more like folk tales where they have a moral to them. They have a lesson.
Yeah, a cultural function.
And so, and some of that you would just look at and go, well, it seems pretty obvious. It's just sort of like, don't screw around water at night.
Yeah, that's the thing for kids.
And if I can, I'm going to use that as a chance to tease the possible future episode that other guest I want to get. Their research specifically was about the La Llorona myth in different age sets. And she found, just to tease it, that depending on the age group that you talked to, the details were different. And it seemed
to serve a different
and it seemed that the moral was different depending on the age.
Well, with any luck, we haven't gotten a hold of this person yet, but we might be able to have them on, and we'll have a La Llorona Part 2 if we can get it together. So that would be interesting.
It's interesting though to think too. Is like you can go pretty far back with these, and the idea of like with the Aztec deities and supernaturals, it does seem to be this thing of like, watch your kids.
Yeah.
Watch your kids. Don't leave them laying around.
Well, and tell the kids don't go near bodies of water.
Yeah.
This monster's gonna get you, which
Watch-
is
It's like watch your kids, or the guardian of children will basically take them for you.
mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Any questions? Do we
That
cover
pretty
we
well-
covered quite a bit of ground?
Yeah, I remember when I was doing some reading into this, and this might get cut, but I was seeing references to, I think it was the Aztec rain god, Tlaloc,
Tlaloc, yeah.
and he had a mistress who did wail. It was associated with rain, and then it was like I was making that rain to water connection kind of was there.
But,
But I can't remember what her name was.
No, but I think I gotta go look it up. That's the point. It's been a while since I've done Aztec stuff.
Yeah.
But I gotta look it up. There's a chance that actually just might be Siwacoatl in that she has.
Just a different, yeah.
I gotta look it up. This is the other trouble, is that you can have some of these gods that is like also known as this and also like this.
Well, yeah, because I was then also making the extension of there was child sacrifice to him to bring the rain. If she's taking away children, there's that
that's
connection.
a whole other mess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, since we're headed down this road, Chichen Itza, which is probably the most touristed Maya site and the most often mispronounced name of any Maya ruin site.
what do people call it?
Well, it is Chichen Itza, which means like
Chichen
the little well or cenote of the Itza people. But Chichen Itza, you know, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen like little documentary series where like the guy showing us Chichen Itza is pronouncing it, and it's like, oh, your producers apparently don't know how to pronounce it either. Great.
No one caught this at any
Pizza
point.
Itza.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Cheese a
Chichen
pizza.
Itza. Okay, well, they have a great cenote, which is in the Yucatan, you won't find rivers because it's all limestone. It rains like hell, and the ground floods, and then everything gets
rivers are
soaked through the
underground.
limestone.
Oh,
And so
okay.
the groundwater isn't all in these subterranean rivers. And so some of these subterranean rivers will etch away at the limestone and make big caves that collapse.
Sinkholes.
And so what is, you're just tootling along in the forest, and all of a sudden you'll just see this giant hole in the limestone and look down, and there'll be like a pond there.
Wow.
And that pond is actually super deep, and it's connected to all the underground rivers. And so you can even get what are called cenote catfish. They have these black catfish. I've been swimming in some of the cenotes, and it's kind of sketchy
That
when you're
sounds
swimming around.
scary. I don't know if I'd want
You're swimming around, and the water's like crystal blue, so you can really see all of these like
That tells you
lots
how
of
deep it is,
freaking
too.
catfish.
The water's taking on a blue tinge. Remember we talked about Tahoe.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The color is
The
all,
deeper it is, the bluer it is.
Yeah, it's the absorption of light.
Yeah.
So you get these really vivid, deep. Okay, so to my recollection, they did decades ago. They did some dredging of the Great Cenote at Chichen Itza. At the Great Cenote, at the mouth of the cenote, they actually had a little temple building, and they had what kind of looked like a launch pad, kind of like a
Diving
plank,
board?
a diving
Yeah.
board kind of thing. You can see some of it's still there, but you can see that's where they stood and then kicked someone over.
Oh boy.
And so to my recollection, they found human sacrifice remains and they found children's remains. And so the suspicion, and there's some record of this, if like they would make offerings to the rain gods, they would paint them blue.
Would they weigh them down? So they.
I think basically they'd slit their throats or like
I see. Okay.
cut their heart out or something like that.
Yeah.
And then just kick them into the cenote. But now that you mentioned, because I was always wondering, like, why the fuck did they do that to kids? Like,
Yeah.
and I was starting to think, oh, maybe there's some weird connection going on here.
Also, and then in the case of the Aztecs, also the canals system, they had canals were.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, they had to have canals.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they literally built Tenochtitlan in the middle of a damn lake. And mind you, not the best real estate because it was like the swampy, muddy, salty, marshy
So was it
part
land
of
of the mosquitoes?
like literally when the Spanish showed up, they were describing it as like this rivals Venice.
Wow.
There were more canalways than walkways because a majority of the buildings were not actually. They would get pilings and then pound them down into the mud deep,
Make
and then they would start
crannies.
making walls of pilings and then boxes of pilings and then fill mud into them. So
Just start
and stone.
stacking. Yeah.
Start stacking. So basically, it was sort of like artificial islands, if you will. And that was
Wow.
and so the thing
No,
is,
some of them are still around.
oh really?
I think so.
It's very well. Nothing's around. I mean, they drained out the damn lake, so
Yeah.
there's nothing left now. I mean, the Templo Mayor is still there, like the big pyramid and so on is
Yeah.
intact. But the water's very brackish, and so you can't drink it. And so they had to actually create a big aqueduct system going from the mainland, from the shore, all the way into the city because it was like thousands of people, and
Who
it's
need
like
water.
no fresh water.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, totally random. Hey, this is fantastic. And of course, you know what's going to happen tonight, right? Gonna leave the windows open and gonna hear a wailing woman.
Oh yeah.
Because it feels like this episode has been cursed.
I'm gonna hope that she's loud because that means she's far away.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then you can't sleep. But it feels like this episode itself has been slightly cursed.
Yeah, we this will be a good test of our editing abilities because boy, as we recorded this whole thing, there's been work done in the neighbors and
Power tools, construction, cars.
Turn this your way a little
The
bit,
propane
actually.
truck came.
Also, I know I'm the one that changed the subject, but real quick back to the cenotes.
Cenotes.
I know in one of them, people do cave diving, and they've gone down pretty far and like into chambers where they actually have found sacrificial altars and remains, which shows that the water level once dropped so low that people could just walk back there.
Yeah.
And so these were trying to bring the rain back.
There's a few of these like that have been found where you come to find out that it wasn't water running through there, that the water table in that area was lower.
Yeah.
And
so you need to sacrifice somebody to bring that rain.
Maybe. Luckily, we don't have to do that this year in California.
Yeah, for once.
Oh, it was getting close.
We're good.
I had somebody all lined up to sacrifice.
No, we
but
were
I guess
already
we don't have
were
to.
already handing out the lots. It was getting real the lottery around here. Real
right.
Shirley Jackson.
Who's gonna look good in blue?
All right, so with that, I think we're about to take a little trip over to Garth's Corner. So here comes the theme song. Well, I was hiking through the woods on a sunny, sunny day when I heard the call. I heard the call of Tom Dahl. Well, I was skywalking through the stratosphere on a phosphorescent maze when I began to fall. And I heard the call of Tom Dahl. Oh, I was trudging through the tundra on the flat Earth's edge, and I slipped and fell in to oblivion. But what's more, as I fell, I saw that Tom Dahl was falling with me, so I knew I wasn't alone anymore. And all that was left for us was for us to fall right into, you guessed it, Garth's Corner. Where's the note that resolves? Some chord's gonna sound like the end. There it is. All right, so for this Garth's Corner, we're going to do it'll be very brief. I'm just going to list off all of the La Lloronas that we've seen. The first time it appeared as a film, so 1933's La Llorona, filmed in Mexico. A little while later in the 60s, there was another one called La Llorona by Rene Carbona. 1963, there was The Curse of the Crying Woman, directed by Rafael Baledon. So there were a couple in the 60s there, and there have been some more recent ones. There was a film called Kilometer 31 in 2008. It was a Mexican horror film based on the legend of La Llorona. And the early 2000s saw a whole bunch of low-budget movies that probably don't really have much to do with it. You can see, like, people are aware enough of this that they just sort of cash in and make bad movies.
When you go to the Blockbuster or the Hollywood Video, and there was all those straight to VHS.
Exactly. So you got The Curse of La Llorona, The Wailer, La Llorona, Revenge of La Llorona, The River, The Legend of La Llorona. La Llorona is the primary antagonist in a 2007 film called Jokel. I might be pronouncing that weirdly.
There's a little glottal stop in there.
There is, yeah. There's a little backward
it's
hyphen.
like a J.
Can you do this?
But Tim probably could.
I'm not getting up.
J-OK.
It's the
whatever.
word joke plus
Joke.
EL at the end.
Yeah.
But the J is separated from the OK.
But because there's a K in there, it's not Spanish. It's not Coquel, it's Joker. I have no idea.
In 2011.
Is that the one that has a jacuzzi drowning?
Well, apparently a lot of these were very, very loosely based on La Llorona, as in not at all. Kind of like they're like
thinking,
Krampus movies now,
Yeah.
It's that kind of
I was
thing.
assuming that was Spanish. I was assuming it might be Nahuatl.
Could be. 2011, there was a Mexican animated film called La Leyenda de La Llorona.
The Legend of La Llorona.
Yes. She's portrayed as a more sympathetic character in this one, and her children die of an accident.
She wants to teach children how to swim.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
My children died drowning. I'm going to teach all children how to swim.
Yeah, that's a great name for a school for teaching kids how to swim. La Llorona Swim School. All right, so 2017, as we all know, a very popular movie, Coco, came out, the Pixar movie, and La Llorona was a featured song in in the middle of it. And that was based on a 1941 version of the song La Llorona. We're about to get into the songs because there have been a lot of versions of the songs. In more recent times, there have been a few. There's a 2019, there was a film titled The Curse of La Llorona, Warner Brothers picture. And in last year, in 2022, there was The Legend of La Llorona starring Danny Trejo. So that's one I actually do want to see.
Danny Trejo versus La Llorona. That sounds... I'd watch that.
To wrap up this Garth's Corner, there's also music. There is a song, La Llorona, which is a Mexican folk song popularized by Andres Henestrosa in 1941. It has been since covered by a whole bunch of different musicians, including there's one by Joan Baez, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've looked this up, and there are a million versions with a million chords, and so different lyrics. So this is a song that has had many permutations.
Almost like La Llorona. Depending on where you are, the song might be slightly different.
But boy, it hits the right notes culturally because it keeps coming up again. It's very popular still. Well, this has been a quick Garth's Corner.
So I was just thinking about the phenomenon with La Llorona, that if you hear her close to you, she's actually far away.
Right.
And if you hear her far away, she's close to you. She would be the best at that swimming pool game, Marco Polo. She's like, dude, she's right in front of you. Touch her. No, she's on the other side of the pool. No, it's a trick.
Marco Polo. Oh, God, she's behind me.
The idea of playing Marco Polo with La Llorona is also fucked up because she's going to drown you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Something tells me she knows how to swim. All right. Well, I believe that sort of wraps up the show.
Don't play around open bodies of water, children.
That's really the takeaway here.
And watch your children. All right, well, we need to...
As we mentioned at the top of the episode, you can always check us out on Patreon.
Yeah, so go to Patreon and you can support us. And if you are feeling extra generous, you can join the Monster Squadron, which are our patron producers. And being in the Monster Squadron gets you extra perks, like you have a private Discord hangout room on our Discord community. We try to do... as often as we can, actual hangouts on there in that room, so you get kind of more access to me and Garth, in addition to the regular access. If you're on Discord, we're talking with you anyway, but then you get like extra special. You also get featured in a Garth's Corner theme song.
Yes, and we're actually running out of them. I only have, after today's, you already heard the Tom Doll, but there's going to be one more, and we just found out.
Yeah.
We got a new Monster Squadron patron, so I've got 2 more to do.
Yes, and so the other perk is you get your name read right here, right now. So our patron Monster Squad members are Travis Alexander, the Bi Barbarian, Rachel Krieger, Tom Dahl, Justin Duckham, Kelly Flynn, Gunnar Franks, Carla Harrington, Lord Havelock, New Jared, Brian Lamb, TJ Levenhagen, our newest member, Alicia Overton, Jordan Ramey, and of course, always, Blue Roan.
So yeah, that's our Monster Squadron, and let's see, is there anything we're missing, Tim?
Are you guys going to make a membership level where you get like a back rub?
That would be at the $700 a month level. We will drive to your house and give you a back rub.
People who are members on our... Look, if you pay for
and at the $1,000 a month level, we'll talk.
You'll drown children.
Yeah. At the 2,000. Okay.
You know, by the way, I'm really digging the T-shirts, the Least Haunted T-shirts you guys have.
Oh, we're actually both. Cody always wears his, and I found mine recently.
Are you gonna start making those available to your listeners?
That is
on that.
That is our plan. So right now, all the Monster Squadron people get them. That's part of the.
Oh. Okay, how much does it cost to be Monster?
$10 a month.
$10 a month.
Oh shit, that's it.
That's it. And then
I get one of those.
You would.
Yeah.
Oh.
We would have to get it made, which will take a little while, but not too long.
You also get
just letting you know.
You also get some stickers.
Oh yeah, there's a whole little goodie bag.
And membership buttons and
a back rub.
Not at that level.
If you live within a radius of us, yes. So anyway, but yeah, that's the $10 a month, and you'll get one of these Least Haunted shirts. Was there anything else we needed to bring up? Oh, if you want to send us anything, you can send it to Box 22, Redwood Estates, California. And what is the zip code?
95044.
No one ever sends us anything, so if you do, we'll make a big deal of it.
Do you accept haunted things?
That's
what we're hoping to get.
Yes. We want someone to send us a haunted item that we can do a haunted unboxing of.
You gonna make a haunted repository like that room they have in the that movie?
Oh yeah, like the Warrens have.
Yeah, you're gonna
Right.
make a do not touch room.
Oh, that'll be the same room we record in.
Except, yeah, it's gonna be a recording room, and it's also going to be labeled as a please touch room.
Yeah, the please touch room full of,
Please take a curse home with
ghostly
you.
artifacts. Yes.
Yes.
Bring a poltergeist home with you. Oh,
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah. Let's see. Anything?
I think
else?
that's all the things.
Oh, I do want to shout out. As the day that we're recording this, also I know that our good friends over at the Doom Generation podcast are recording their 100th episode,
Oh, congratulations to them.
which is coming out soon.
That's
and
awesome.
Then, we're going to be doing an episode with them sometime next month. We're going to team up with them again and talk about another hidden 80s movie from my childhood. And then here's a bonus, again, another plug for Patreon. If you become a patron of either us or the Doom Generation on their Patreon, we're going to do collectively for all of our patrons a live riffing of that movie.
Mystery Science Theater 3000 style.
Yes, exactly.
rad.
As a bonus.
Audio only, you don't see our silhouettes, but it'll still be an audio commentary.
And
of
then we'll be
sorts.
watching the movie on our Discord, so
Yeah.
you'll get access to a private screening of that.
And with that, I think that's all of the things. Any final thoughts, Tim? You're our special guest.
I kind of want to go swimming now.
You know what?
kinda-
It's finally warm enough. I was thinking the same thing. I have some sprinklers set up at my house. I made sure to turn them off before you came to visit. But they always squirt people, and I have them set up so that the deer don't, eat our vegetables and stuff. But I curse myself whenever I get squirted by my own things. And now it's warm enough, I did get squirted. I was like, oh, that was kind of nice. The seasons have changed. It's getting warm enough.
I have to start thinking about getting my little wading pool all situated. Unfortunately, it is under 2 bay trees right now. The pool did not get crushed, but it is inside of a thicket of limbs and stuff that I'm going to have to chainsaw.
Well, your reward will be you'll have a pool.
Yes.
Nice.
So.
And then you're gonna start hearing a crying woman around it.
Yeah, really, exactly. So, bodies of water, everybody, be careful.
Yes.
I think that's
Okay,
basically.
so-
it.
so then-
you know how to do the ending because you're the guest. So we'll say.
I don't.
All right.
Oh,
so,
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So remember, until next time, the only thing that's haunted.
Is you
Woo.
All right.
All right. Nice.
and your pool.
Yes. Recording a podcast down at the crossroads, or maybe it was by a stream. When out of the darkness a wailing surrounds us, a Mesoamerican meme. Garth turns to Cody.
Hey, is that La Llorona?
Cody is not quite so sure. Maybe we should call in an expert we've spoken to 4 times before. Tim King says,
Hey man, I'm not quite an expert on ladies who wander at night, but I can tell you all about ancient patterns from which they cut her dress white. What does any of this have to do with Batman? Cody's dreams in the night. Tim says, relax man, it's just an example.
Garth nods agreeing, Tim's right. Does she really take all these children, and does she dress all in white?
Well, I guess it depends on who you're asking and where she was seen on that night.
In any event, beware of La Llorona and hold your podcasters tight. And do not leave them unattended at crossroads
Or streaming your streams late at night. Did we do that in one take? Holy shit.
The Least Haunted podcast is recorded before a dead studio audience and is a presentation of Sequoidea Productions LLC.